Hey everyone, today's verse that I wanted to share with you is 2 Samuel 22:26. So it's a lot of twos. But it basically says, to the faithful, you show yourself faithful. To the blameless, you show yourself blameless. So, and obviously they're referencing God. And this verse means a lot to me for two different reasons. The first is that many years ago, when I was a young, becoming a Christian, when I was a young Christian, I had been saved, but I had only been saved for not very long. I think maybe a year or two or something like that. A friend of ours actually gave a talk in the small meeting that we were at, and in this meeting, she mentioned that phrase that you are faithful to the faithful. And I think that it's also listed elsewhere in the Bible. But just that little snippet, that phrase, you are faithful to the faithful, just means so much, because it kind of leads me into my second point, which is God is to us, we are to Him. And let me explain that. So in any relationship, the way that you often treat people is the way that people tend to treat you in return. It kind of goes hand in hand with the golden rule. And because God is not just a God, a being out, in space, just kind of watching over us, but He's a relational God that actually cares about each and every one of us. Every relationship, even relationships with God, are the same way that they are with people. Like if we put in the time and effort, and if we put in, if we make the steps to make that work, God returns that the same way, usually greater than what we give, because we're only human and He is the God of the universe. So my point out of that is that this phrase just means so much. It just makes so much sense. And just speaking on the first part of it, that He is faithful to the faithful, when we are faithful and we do the things that He asks of us, talking to people about the gospel, or serving people, or giving, or whatever it is, when we're faithful in those things and we do them, whether we like it or not, whether we're afraid or not, whether or not we feel like it's the right thing to do, when we do those things because we know it's right, and we take those steps, those leaps of faith, if you will, when we're faithful and we follow Him and we obey Him, He is faithful in return. And I found that this has been true every time in my life. Anytime I've done something at work, or done something at home, or done something with other people, whenever I've given something that I didn't feel right, or I didn't want to give, but I did it anyway, whether it was time, resources, energy, a physical item, doesn't matter. God always took care of us, like me, my wife, my family. He always took care of me and them, and He's just that way. He is faithful to the faithful. Now, kind of speaking on the second part of it, I wasn't initially going to address the second part of that, but the second part of it, of that verse being that He is blameless to the blameless, is very interesting, because obviously we as humans are sinners. We're never blameless. However, if we admit our faults and the things that we do wrong, and we don't shift blame, but we take blame and we're honest, well, God honors that. God can't bless sin. So when we hide things, when we don't accept responsibility, and when we just almost do the wrong thing, knowing it's the wrong thing, God can't bless that. But, if you think about blame, if you were in an accident, sure, you might be at blame, but it's more forgivable to be in an accident of something happening than it is if you did it on purpose. It's just like if you were to go to trial, something that was an accident is less severe than something that was done in cold blood, because it's forgivable. So when we're blameless, when we admit our faults, when we don't do things that we know we're not supposed to, God blesses us in that. So when we don't do those things, or if we make a mistake or we mess up, but we admit that and we move on from it, God rewards that, because He does what we do, only greater. So I just wanted to share that. I thought that was an interesting verse, only because I'd heard it many years ago and it just stuck with me. That anytime I feel like I'm at a crossroads, or I need to do something that I just don't want to do, or I'm afraid to do, or whatever it is, just remember that snippet, that He is faithful to the faithful. But that's it. That's all I've got for you guys. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day. Hopefully this meant something. Please leave a comment or something if it did, and I will catch you guys in another one. Take care.